Okay, so in 3.08, we're talking about the different types of media you can use to promote your business or your product. I've got here listed for you different mediums and types of media that you use, along with the advantages and limitations or disadvantages, and then the average cost. Now remember, this is average probably to it would depend on the state or the city as to really what an average is. You can't look at an overall average because it's going to be different. You'll need to go through this PowerPoint and make sure you understand the vocabulary here. Frequency is the number of times that you want to expose a target audience. How many times do you want them to see an advertisement? Once, twice, a couple of times. The reach is the number of people in the audience that actually do get to see it at least one time. So then you got to get your reach calculation or your reach percent. So you divide the number of target audience that actually saw it divided by your total target audience. And so here's an example of how that math problem works. So if our target audience that actually saw it was 375,000, and the total target audience was 1,500,000, you would divide that to get 25%. Make sure you understand effective reach and broad reach. Circulation, how to determine the media cost. You'll want to understand that. Absolute cost versus relative cost. Absolute cost is math. You can get specific number of or how much it is. You can actually see it very easily. Relative cost is a little more harder to get, and you have to use these different types of math problems to get it. Your cost per thousandths, which is CPM, your based on cost per rating point, which is CPRP, and the GRP is your gross rating points. So this is going to teach you about the CPM, which is cost of the ad by thousandths, and you have the cost of the ad times 1,000 divided by the number of target audience, and that gets you your CPM number. Then you have your CPRP and your GRP that you get. Here's an example. Your total advertising expense that you spend out is $20,000. The gross ratings points for the show is 210. So 20,000 divided by 210 is 95.24. Now I know this is kind of confusing, but on the multiple choice, it'll be easier to do. Then it talks about newspapers. You want to read how they're circulated, how their costs are set up. Magazines are obviously really good for certain intended audiences, as well as they're very colorful and vibrant and a good resource. Costs are going to be more. Then you have TV, which is obviously the most expensive. Then you have radio, so you want to read about the radio and how their costs work. And then the internet, which we've talked about before. Types of rates on the internet is CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, and CPC, cost per click. Then you have out-of-door promotions, which is your billboards, your stoic signs, different types of where it's not moving, it's in the same location in a populated area. Sometimes you can even see like the movable billboards, the ones that are on buses or things of that nature. Direct mail we've already talked about. Direct mail we've already talked about how that works and how you get your cost. So let's look at which media you need to select, what it's based on. It's based on your objectives or your goal of that advertising campaign, who your audience is, what your competition is using, what kind of media they're doing, and how much money you have to put into this. The nature of the product, how you're going to distribute it, and the lead time. How long do you need it to be out there? You have factors, the quantitative media factors are easily measured, and you can easily see the cost per person. Qualitative media factors are not as easy to understand, but if you look at, credibility or qualitative factors, if I put my advertisement in the Inquirer magazine, it doesn't have the credibility that GQ has. So that's the kind of qualitative media factor. Media coverage, you have extensive, it's a large audience like your Super Bowl. You have intensive, which is smaller audience but more in frequency. Buy your advertising space. This just goes over the things you need to do to understand how to buy your advertising space. So choosing the vehicle of media you want to use, what is your, not necessarily a problem, but what is your goal for this advertising campaign? Is it a seasonal thing where you're just trying to push some products through? Or is it something you want to go on full time? Consider your different options and your costs. Select your appropriate media. Do you need it to go on for a long time? Regular ads, continuous. Is it a flighting strategy where it kind of comes and goes like holidays or seasonals? And then the pulsing strategy is a combination of low then high, and Coca-Cola uses this strategy all the time. I don't want you to worry about this. You do. You don't have to do that. I just want you to be able to use these notes and take the quiz on understanding media and how to choose your promotional media.